Management Fund, Wajir County Bursary Fund, Wajir Water and Sewerage Company Limited, Kerisho County Executive Staff Scheme Mortgage Fund, Kerisho County Alcoholic Drinks Fund, Mary County Alcoholic Drinks and Control Board, Sierra County Alcoholic Drinks Control Fund, Trans Nzoia County Youth and Women Development Fund, Tavevo Water and Sewerage Company Limited, Special Municipality of Mwatate Fund Board, Municipality of Malindi, Vihiga County Assembly Members and Staff Mortgage and Kalon Scheme Fund, Vihiga County Trade and Enterprise Fund, Matasi Water Services Limited, Kerisho Water and Sanitation Company Limited, Kisumu County Trade Fund, Kisumu County Car and Mortgage Scheme Fund, Kisumu County Youth, Women and People Disability Fund. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation of clergy from Nyandarua County who are in the Senate on a courtesy call. Honorable Senators, I request the delegation to stand so that they may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. There they are. Honorable Senators, on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish them a fruitful visit. Thank you. Again, Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation of businessmen from India and the Democratic Republic of Congo, who are in the Senate on a courtesy call. Honorable Senators, on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish them a fruitful visit. Thank you. I will allow the Senator for Nyandarua to give welcoming remarks.
Mosque, and we have Bishop Dr. Gadari, who is the Bishop of Full Gospel Church. I would wish to state this, Mr. Speaker. My being here, I really would wish and I would dare say, had it not been the hand of God, I would not be a senator today. These men of God who are the Speaker's Gallery, they have worked with me this very difficult journey, and I thank them very much. And I also ask, as they pray for me and as they pray for the country, as they pray for the President and as I pray for all of us, I would wish to say that we really take them with
free country, and we welcome all kind of investors, as long as the kind of business is genuine and legit. Welcome to Kenya. Thank you.
Next order, please.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, statements.
The Honorable Senator Tomo Jenda. The Honorable Senator Crystal Asige.
It's on? Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding safety of learners in special needs education institutions. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state the safety measures put in place in education institutions for children with special needs to ensure the safety of learners with disabilities from such hazards such as fires, terrorist attacks, and natural calamities. 2, elucidate on whether staff working in special needs education institutions have undergone emergency response training to serve as first responders in the event of an emergency in the said institutions. 3, explain whether personnel of emergency response agencies such as paramedics, police, firefighters, the Kenya Defense Forces, and other rescue and emergency service providers are, in their training, sensitized on how to handle persons with disabilities in emergency situations. 4, describe the kind of training, if any, that children with disabilities in special needs education institutions are taken through to aid them in responding to emergency situations. And finally, Mr. Speaker, explain whether parents and caregivers of children with disabilities are taken through any form of training on handling of such children in the event of emergencies, stating how often all the above such trainings are provided for. Mr. Speaker, if I can just give a brief genesis of this statement. Not many people know this, but on the 13th of October 2022 in Uganda, there is a special education school named Salama School for the Blind, for the visually impaired. And I'm sorry, I've got a tear coming out of my eye as I say this, because that school burnt down on the 13th, just after midnight last month. And there were 11 children with visual impairment that died that night, and 6 were very badly injured. This was caused by an alleged arson attack in the middle of the night in this boarding school, where 11 children, who I see myself in, Mr. Speaker, burnt to death in the middle of the night. And of course, because of their visual impairment or their blindness, I cannot emphasize enough how difficult I imagine that to have been for them, excruciating at that. If senators in this room and people listening to me this afternoon, can you just close their eyes for 10 seconds and imagine that this place was engulfed in flames, Mr. Speaker, right now? What would you do, especially if the person to your left and to your right is also blind and visually impaired? Who would you then reach out your hand to save you and guide you out into safety? Mr. Speaker, these children in Uganda, 11 of them, burnt so badly beyond recognition that their parents had to wait 3 weeks after this fire in order to get their remains. It just happened a week ago, Mr. Speaker. And that, of course, led me to think, what is Kenya doing to prevent such a situation? Instead of being instead of being reactive, how proactive are our emergency services in such situations specific to people with disabilities and children with disabilities, Mr. Speaker? I hope that none of us, for example, in Thika's School for the Blind, Likoni School for the Blind, have to say or read this story in the news at all in Kenya. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this being a house of reflection.
Senator Onyonka.
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to emphasize that after listening to Madam Asige raise the issue about us as leaders being sensitive to people with visual disability and impairment, I think it makes sense for the committee responsible, Mr. Speaker, to take this matter seriously, and so that we can actually begin to look at the standardization of how our buildings are designed, and if possible, Mr. Speaker, where certain windows and doors are placed so that such people can have easy access in case there is any emergency. I think it's a very good issue. Thank you, sir.
Senator Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to, just like our colleague who's just spoken, the good Senator for Kisii, join him as well in agreeing with Senator Crystal on the need for us as a leadership to be sensitive to children with special needs. Listening to her, Mr. Speaker, it struck me how on many occasions because life is normal for you, imagine that that is how it is for everyone. And perhaps the special needs children in many institutions across our counties, that on many occasions we don't sit back to reflect and consider on in which way are they being considered in the buildings that are being done and the county programs, Mr. Speaker. Part of the articles of devolution and that which it intended to achieve, Mr. Speaker, if you read our constitution, is to bring service closer to the people and to give people the chance to self-govern away from here in Nairobi. I want to believe, Mr. Speaker, that the Committee on Education, as they consider this statement, perhaps may want to even go a step earlier and consider, because many of the billions of shillings that we devolve to the counties each year are used to build ECD classrooms. How many of those ECD classrooms, Mr. Speaker, are built in a manner conducive to children with special needs? And what is the ratio as well? Because there are those who can not, because of the nature of they are ably gifted, they are gifted differently, Mr. Speaker, they are not able to attend normal schools with the other children. How many such facilities are being developed? I know the Senator for Homa Bay, I believe, Senator Moses Kajwang, has a bill before this House that was read the first time early this week on vocational training centers. Perhaps as we consider that, we must also think about it, because it's providing the legislative framework for counties to develop vocational training centers. As we do that, we may want also to consider, perhaps during a committee of the whole, how those centers can either additionally have classrooms that are smart enough to have students that are gifted differently, or build actually institutions all together, because these special skills that you're providing to the young people who maybe don't join colleges and universities, I believe this special lot of young children deserve to be given also that kind of an opportunity. And I believe when Senator Moses Kajwang comes back, or the committee that is considering this bill comes back with that report, this is one thing, together with our colleague Senator Crystal, we should look out for. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Shakil Abdallah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice on what our VIP has said regarding the impaired people. Mr. Speaker, I remember very well there was a law which was passed that any building in this country any school, any institution, that they should be taking care of the PWDs. And that law was reversed, Mr. Speaker. I think it's high time we look into that law and see, the committee should actually look into that law and see how best they can revert it back and make sure and enforce it so that all the buildings, all the schools, all the institutions and shopping centers, they should be able to cater for the PWDs so that we avoid such scenarios in future, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Senator Muma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support the statement by Senator Asige. Mr. Speaker, I happen to be a parent of a child with a disability, a child with a severe disability. And I'd like to confirm that children with disability have difficulties being included in the education in this country. Mr. Speaker, for children with severe disabilities, it's even worse. Parents have had to come together, sometimes come up with their own institutions because we don't have public institutions to provide for them. The missionaries and private actors, including non-state actors, NGOs, have built more schools for persons with disabilities than our own government has done. Mr. Speaker, we actually have a law in this country, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, which we ratified as Kenya. In fact, we participated in the development of that law. Kenya was one of the countries that was at the forefront in shaping that convention. And Mr. Speaker, that convention provides for inclusive education, which means that the design of the education, pedagogy, the teaching, the training of teachers, the provision of the infrastructure in the schools, and also the infrastructure in public spaces is supposed to be inclusive. But Mr. Speaker, we have failed to implement inclusive provisions in regard to persons with disability. I'd like to thank Senator Asige and to urge that committee, together with the committee that is in charge of the implementation of treaties and agreements, to use the law that we have, which is very good, the treaties, and hold accountable all those, both the ministry and even the county governments, because both have some infrastructure of sort that they develop that is supposed to be accessed by the public. I raise to support. Thank you very much.
Senator Murango.
Asante sana mstahiki Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi hii kuchangia katika kauli ambayo imetolewa na Senator Asige. Ya kwanza ningesema kwamba na ningetaka kuunga mkono kauli iliyotolewa na kiongozi wa wengi katika bunge la Seneti, kwa sababu sheria nyingi zinatungwa na zile zinafaa kutungwa ndio ziweze kutumika. Tukiangalia sana wahandisi wengi ambao wanakuja kupitisha zile plans ambazo zinatumika katika ujenzi majumba mengi katika county, hawatili maanani ya kwamba wanafaa kupeana nafasi ama kuzingatia sheria ili wale watu ambao wana uwezo wa kuingia katika zile majumba waweze kuingia. Nasema hivyo kwa sababu ukienda leo kuna zile plans ambazo zitapitishwa leo na wahandisi katika county kwa majumba ambayo itajengwa, lakini hasitakuwa na njia mwafaka ambazo watu walio na ulemavu wanaweza kuingia katika nyumba zile. Lakini tukiendelea kutunga sheria ambazo hazitiliwi maanani, hakuna kitu tambadilisha katika nchi. Kwa hivyo ningesema ya kwamba tunapotunga sheria na zile zilizoko za kusema kwamba majumba yajengwe yakiwa na nafasi nzuri ya usafiri sana kwa watu ambao wako na ulemavu zizingatiwe vilivyo, na sisi kama seneta ambao tunaangalia ama sisi ndio tunaangalia counties tuweze kufuata kwamba zile sheria zinatumika. Asante sana Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wambua.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also comment on the statement by our sister, Senator Asige. Mr. Speaker, I've listened to my colleagues talk about laws and provisions of the Constitution, international treaties that bind us as a nation in respect of providing care to our children. Mr. Speaker, it should come out naturally that any government, any human being must be driven not by law, but even by conscience to provide care for our children with disability. In our Constitution, Mr. Speaker, Article 43(3), it says that the state shall provide appropriate social security to persons who are unable to support themselves and their dependents. And this is where, this is the basis of all laws on the protection of children and persons living with disability. The government has a duty of care, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that these children, who are actually our children, have access to education, access to health care, access to free movement, Mr. Speaker. I have visited a number of schools in my county for children with special needs. And Mr. Speaker, even as we talk about these children, there will be need for us also to address the issue of the caregivers, those persons who are charged with the responsibility of taking care of these children. They are also given an environment that is conducive to provide that care in the first place. So, Speaker, I thank Senator Asige for being at the forefront to fight for persons living with disability and not leaving any child behind. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Tobiko.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I also arise to support the statement by the good Senator VIP, Senator Asige, that all Kenyans, whether physically challenged or able-bodied persons, have a right to access facilities, services, as provided by government and should be provided by government. Mr. Speaker, there are parents who are at home with their children because their children cannot access good education or cannot access facilities that will enable those children to get education, Mr. Speaker. And this particularly affects mothers. It affects the female caregivers, Mr. Speaker. In most instances, Mr. Speaker, you find situations even where, those ladies with physically challenged children, most of the times they are abandoned by their spouses and they are left to take care of these children, Mr. Speaker. And when it comes to the national level and institutions, Mr. Speaker, we must try as a country to level the ground for every Kenyan, that every Kenyan has a chance, every Kenyan is enabled to access services, to access opportunities, to access buildings, to access schools, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think it is high time even the parents who take care of the physically challenged children are also given a stipend to take care of these children on behalf of the government of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I just arise to say, Senator Asige, this is a noble cause, the one you're following, and it's good because you have not, let the disability to affect, your achievement or self-actualization, my sister. And because of that, I hope those at home are getting a good example and taking you as a role model, that nothing should stop them from achieving what they must achieve as God gives them an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Senator Mazayo.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, nataka kumpatia kongole dada yetu Crystal Asige kwa hii taarifa. Kitu ni kwamba Bwana Spika, mambo ya ulemavu ni mambo ya kusikitisha sana. Hakuna familia katika Kenya ama jamii ama marafiki ambao hawajaona familia ama kukumbwa na janga hili la kuwa na mtoto ama watoto ambao ni walemavu katika familia. Mimi nikiwa mmoja wao, tuko na mmoja ambaye pia hali yake pia ni hali ya ulemavu na hali ya kusikitisha. Bwana Spika, nataka kusema tu ya kwamba ingekuwa vyema pia kufikiria kuongeza namba ya walimu ambao wanaweza kuwafundisha watoto ambao ni walemavu. Bwana Spika, ingekuwa muhimu pia kuona ya kwamba usalama wao wakati hatari ikitokea, kama saa nyingine unajua watoto hawawezi kutembea, kunaweza kuwa na hatari kama ya moto, unaweza kuwa na hatari kama ya nyumba kuanguka ama mafuriko, ili wao wanaweza kuwa na haraka sana ya usaidizi, kuona ya kwamba madhara kama yale hayatawapata watoto hawa. Kitu cha mwisho Bwana Spika, nataka kutoa kongole kubwa sana. Kongole kubwa sana kwa rafiki yangu mmoja huko Mombasa, yule ambaye ndio mwenye ile tunaita Mombasa Cement. Mombasa Cement iko katika kaunti yangu ya Kilifi na ni kampuni ya kutengeza simiti, na mwenye hiyo kampuni anaitwa Hasu. Yule Hasu, mimi sijaona binadamu kama huyo. Binadamu ambaye katika Kenya nzima yeye amejitokeza kwa nguvu zake zote kuona ya kwamba atasaidia watoto walemavu. Ako na skuli kubwa sana inaitwa Shenandan, iko pale ndani ya Mtwapa. Iko na watoto walemavu zaidi ya 1000. Watoto ambao wako na ulemavu ambao hawawezi kuongea, watoto ambao hawawezi kutembea, watoto ambao hawasikii, watoto ambao pia hawawezi kuona, na tofauti za ulemavu wa aina yote yeye yako nao. Na hao watoto ambao hawapungui chini ya 1000, yeye anawaangalia kwa kila hali na mali. Hata elimu yao wakiwa wanafundishwa, wale walimu walioko pale, yeye mwenyewe anatumia pesa yake kupeana hiyo pesa, kuona ya kwamba wale watoto wamepata elimu. Wale wasioona wanafundishwa na zile zinaitwa kama dadangu Kristo, na wale wasiosikia pia wanafundishwa kivyao, na wale wasioweza pia kutembea lakini wanaweza kuwa na uwezo wa kuona na kusikia, wanapewa mafunzo pale pale kwenye ile skuli. Ni skuli ya ajabu, na mimi naona hiyo skuli, Bwana Spika, huyo mwenye hiyo skuli angezaidika na kutambuliwa ya kwamba yeye ni mtu mmoja ambaye mimi naona kwa Mwenyezi Mungu amweke, aweze kumpatia maisha marefu, aendelee kusaidia hawa watoto ambao ni walemavu. Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika, mimi tu langu la mwisho ni kwamba nataka watu wale ambao wanajiweza kokote waliko nchini waige mfano wa Asu yule wa Mombasa Cement, kuona ya kwamba ikiwa wewe uko na uwezo na uko na pesa, sio sisi tuseme wewe una pesa, wewe ni tajiri, na wewe hakuna hata mtoto mmoja wa mlemavu unamsomesha ama unamfanyia usaidizi wa aina yoyote. Asante Bwana Spika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity that you have given me to say something about the statement by Senator Asige, and I think I want to start by thanking her for making this a very important statement. And Mr. Speaker, as the chair of Education Committee in this House, Mr. Speaker, I feel I need to make some 2 comments. Mr. Speaker, the issue of children with special needs is a very serious matter, because in most of the traditions and cultures of our people, sometimes parents are forced to hide these children at home. And that is why it is very important that when we come to institutions of learning, that we make enough provisions for these learners, Mr. Speaker. I think I want to thank the government, because through Kenya Institute of Special Education, KISE, Mr. Speaker, teachers, especially at the primary school level, have been undertaking further training in special needs education, Mr. Speaker. Most institutions, primary schools, have centers for special needs learners, Mr. Speaker. And I think it is important, because sometimes a learner or a parent will not maybe fully accept that their children need special needs. I think, Mr. Speaker, it is mandatory. It would be very important that teachers be trained, even those that are not exactly trained in special needs, but there be a unit to be taught in teacher training colleges, that every teacher is at least empowered in dealing with a special needs kid, Mr. Speaker, because some of these children, like I've said, will be hidden at home, will come to school as normal kids, but they have some special needs, Mr. Speaker. And I think that is why every teacher should be taught, should do at least 1 unit in special needs education. Mr. Speaker, those especially that have issues with their mental health, Mr. Speaker, could be taken advantage of. And I think it is important that we have some laws protecting these children against people that may want to take advantage of them, Mr. Speaker. Every educational institution or every center, Mr. Speaker, should make sure that the buildings are friendly. Every building made, and I think, Mr. Speaker, as approval of buildings is being made, I think there should be a requirement that every building that is being put up in an educational institution should be friendly, Mr. Speaker, to all the learners with special needs. And I think it is a high time that we started looking at learners with special needs as our children, and giving them the appropriate care that they need. And I think I want to support, and I think I want to thank again Senator Asige for that, and I think that is very progressive. Mr. Speaker, I support anything and everything that would be there for our learners with disability and those that have special needs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kavindu.
Bwana Spika, wacha nikushukuru kwa kunipa fursa hii ya kuweza kuchangia kwa statement hii ya Senator Asige. Bwana Spika, watoto wanaoishi na ulemavu, hata si watoto tu peke yao, hata watu wazima wanaoishi na ulemavu wako na shida nyingi sana, especially wanaposafiri. Usafiri hauko sawa kabisa kwao, ni kwa maana wanatembea na wanasafiri kwa njia ngumu sana, especially wale wanaosukumwa na wheelbarrows na wheelchairs. Wanapata matatizo mengi sana wanapoenda. Bwana Spika, nasema ni lazima amri tolewe ili wakaweze kulindwa na wanapoenda shuleni pia. Bwana Spika, wanapata matatizo mengi. Wanapata matatizo mengi kwa communication, especially wale ambao hawasikii na walimu hawezi kufunza na sign language ile ambao wanaweza kufahamu. Bwana Spika, wanapata shida nyingi sana hata kwa vyakula, kwa maana wengi wamezaliwa kwenye familia ambazo hazijiwezi kabisa, na kwa hivyo unapata ule mzazi wa kike pale nyumbani hawezi kuondoka, maana akiondoka ule mtoto atabakia pale bila mtu, alafu anaweza pia kubakwa akiwa katika hali hiyo. Kwa hivyo unapata mama mara nyingi hawezi kutoka kwenda kutafutia ule mtoto chakula. Kwa hivyo mama na watoto pia wanapata shida kwa kukosa hata kitu ambacho wanaweza kula. Bwana Spika, mimi ningeomba serikali hii iangalie sana zaidi zile familia ambazo ziko na watoto walemavu, na waone hali zao vile ziko za kimapato, ili wakaweze kuwasaidia, wakaweze kuona jinsi wanaweza kuwapa nafasi ya kujipatia chakula na hata kuweza kuwaendelesha kwenye masomo. Wanapata shida hata kwenye matibabu. Wanapogonjeka, mama inabidi achukue mtoto na kumbeba na kumpeleka hospitalini. Wazazi wengine hawana uwezo hata wa kukomboa gari ama hata kupanda zile bodaboda. Unapata ni shida, utapata mama amebeba mgongoni mtoto mzito zaidi na anambeba tu kwa sababu ni mtoto wake. Nashukuru sana Senator Azike kwa ajili ya mjadala ambao umeleta mahali hapa, and I hope ukipelekwa kwenye ile kamiti ambayo inastahili watachukua hatua, na pia serikali itachukua hatua. Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa nafasi hii na support.
Senator Roba.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Sometimes back, I was invited, as a governor, to participate in an event that was for persons living with disability in Isiolo, and we were requested to do competition on the wheelchair that was provided by everybody. Only then I had realized the level of difficulty that people go through. In my life, I've seen people who are okay yesterday and completely disabled today. And this is at the level of adults. So disability is an issue that can happen to anybody. And for us as a house to be able to think about the welfare of persons living with disability, from children to adults, and be able to legislate in favor of those, is something that the line between disability and wellness is very thin. You can attend your Senate session today, and by this evening you're disabled. And this is the absolute reality of what happens in our life. And for those of us that are well and have the opportunity to be in this Senate, to be able to legislate, help the cause of that persons living with disability, it is great opportunity. And for our Senator Sige, thank you very much for being extremely consistent. You can bank on our support because you have close visibility on the issues affecting persons with disability. We are very lucky to have you in this Senate, and we will support you with everything we've got, including fast-tracking legislation that you're going to propose, as well as us proposing for the sake of making sure the welfare of persons living with disability, including from children to adults, is taken care of. I rise to support. Thank you.
Senator Faki.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia maombi ya taarifa yaliyowasilishwa na Senator Maalumu Senator Kristo Lasigi. Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono taarifa hii ambayo Mheshimiwa Asigi ameileta, kwa sababu mambo yanayoangaziwa katika taarifa hii ni mambo ya kimsingi kabisa. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimebahatika kuwa mwanachama klabu ya Rotary Club of Mombasa, na tunafanya kila baada ya wiki mbili huwa tunakwenda kulisha watoto walemavu katika shule ya Portrees. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiona wale watoto wanavyoishi, lazima utajua kwamba ipo haja kubwa ya kuweza kuwasaidia ili waweze kuona maisha yao yamekuwa kidogo na nafuu. Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati tunapokwenda kuwalisha shule ile ya Portrees ya watoto walemavu ina walimu ambao hawatoshi ile idadi ya wanafunzi ambao wako pale. Kwa hivyo tukifika sisi, mbali na kupeleka chakula, sisi wenyewe pia huingia katika shughuli za kuwalisha wale watoto ili tuone kwamba kila mtoto anaweza kupata chakula cha kutosha. Mheshimiwa Spika, madarasa yaliyojengwa ni yamejengwa madarasa ya kawaida kiasi ambacho mtoto mlemavu hawezi kuyafikia. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna sehemu zingine ambazo hata mahali ambapo anakwenda kujisaidia, Mheshimiwa Spika, hayajatengezwa kwa kiwango ambacho kinatilia maanani ulemavu wa mtoto yule. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hivyo haya masuala yaliyozungumziwa hapa, Mheshimiwa Spika, yatasaidia pakubwa kuhakikisha kwamba wanafunzi wanaosoma wale ambao wana ulemavu wanakuwa na nafasi sawa na wale wanafunzi wengine katika shule zao. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa pia kusema kwamba Mheshimiwa Hasu wa Mombasa Cement ametoa mchango mkubwa kwa watoto walemavu, kwa sababu amejenga shule ambao shule ile ndio kubwa kabisa katika bara la Afrika ya kusaidia watoto ambao ni walemavu, na watoto wale wako karibu 1500 na wanakula pale, wanalala pale, na wengine ni wale ambao wana ulemavu wanaitwa microcephalus. Vichwa vyao ukiangalia kichwa chake ni kidogo kuliko kile kichwa cha mtoto wa kawaida, tofauti na wale ambao wana vichwa vikubwa wanaitwa hydrocephalus kwa Kiingereza. Sijui kwa Kiswahili wanaitwa nini. Labda Mheshimiwa Spika utaweza kutusaidia hapo. Lakini vichwa vyao ni vidogo, wanaitwa microcephalus. Na ukiwaona mwenyewe utajua kwamba Mwenyezi Mungu ni bora wa kuumba, na ameumba amtakaye kwa njia ambayo ameona yeye kuwa ni sawa. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, walemavu kama hawa na wote wako katika shule ya Mheshimiwa Hasu, na pale wanapata kila kitu. Kwa hivyo ni swala ambalo hata serikali nafikiri hawajafikiria swala kama hilo kwamba waweze kusaidia watoto kama hao. Na nafikiri watoto wale hawako katika sehemu za pwani peke yake, wako katika sehemu Kenya nzima kwa jumla. Kwa hivyo ikiwa kuna wazazi ambao wana watoto walemavu kama hao, ni bora waweze kuwaleta ili waweze kusomeshwa. Mwisho Mheshimiwa Spika, ni pia wakati hao wanapokuwa inakuwa vigumu wao kupata cheti cha kuonesha kwamba yeye ni mlemavu. Lazima alipe shilingi 1500 katika hospitali zetu ambazo ni hospitali za county ili waweze kupata cheti cha kuonesha kwamba ni mlemavu, ndio waweze kupata zile benefit nyingine ama zile marupurupu ama fadhila nyingine za kuonesha kwamba yeye ni mlemavu. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, haya yote yanalumbikizwa kwa wale ambao katika jamii sisi tunatakana tuwasaidie zaidi kuliko tunavyotusaidia sisi wenyewe. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono taarifa hii. Asante.
Senator Mandago.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the statement of Senator Sike on the safety of children with disability, Mr. Speaker, in our learning institution. And Mr. Speaker, the children with different disabilities, Mr. Speaker, in this country, their safety is not only limited to the physical security or access to institutions of learning, but Mr. Speaker, the safety should also include the devices, the assistive devices they are using, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in this country, we can comfortably say we've let down the population with disability, Mr. Speaker. And I say that, Mr. Speaker, because in this country, we have only one assessment center, which is KISE, Mr. Speaker. And for you to be able to assist a person with disability, Mr. Speaker, with the correct assistive devices, Mr. Speaker, there is need to assess that child or person, Mr. Speaker, so that you can prescribe the correct assistive device, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we want these children to be safe, we need, Mr. Speaker, to improve on the assessment centers in this country, Mr. Speaker. There is need to expand the assessment facilities in this country, Mr. Speaker, so that all Kenyans should not be traveling to KISE. Even in that KISE, Mr. Speaker, we have shortage of experts who can do proper assessment of the children with various disabilities, Mr. Speaker, so that proper correctional and assistive devices can be given, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, looking at the contribution of Senator Asike in this House, Mr. Speaker, on matters disability, I urge this minority whip to reconsider returning Senator Asike, Mr. Speaker, to the correct committee so that our expertise can help this House, Mr. Speaker, and the whole population of disabled persons in this country, Mr. Speaker, get better services in terms of accessing buildings and many other things. Mr. Speaker, you realize safety is about the buildings we use, is about the institutions of learning these children go, and if they are not properly designed, Mr. Speaker, and the rest don't have that working knowledge of persons with disability, Mr. Speaker, it is only proper that we have somebody with the knowledge and skill in that sector, Mr. Speaker, assist this Senate, Mr. Speaker, so that we can have proper designs and proper accessible structures, Mr. Speaker, for persons living with disability, whether they are children or whether they are adults, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this statement and ask the committee to take this matter very seriously and with a view of coming up with legislation. And Mr. Speaker, with also a view or reviewing the existing legislation, Mr. Speaker, to enhance the punishment that will be meted on those who refuse to comply with that act, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Honourable Senators, for those who still wish to have a bite at this request, I believe we'll have an opportunity when the report is tabled by the relevant committee. For now, we'll move to the next request. Senator Professor Tomojenda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise under Standing Order number 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries regarding the state of rice farming in Kisumu County. In this statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee should, number one, state the steps the county government of Kisumu has taken to secure and improve rice production, processing and marketing in Kisumu County, while outlining county funding initiatives for rice farmers, including plans for expansion of rice irrigation schemes, subsidies for rice farmers, and the reduction of field and storage losses to rice farmers, Mr. Speaker, sir. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, the county government should outline measures taken, if any, in value addition in rice production and processing, such as the construction and operationalization of rice mills. Thirdly, to give a detailed report on the state of rice cooperatives in Kisumu County, especially the marketing of rice subsector in the county to attract both local and foreign markets in a manner beneficial to rice farmers in the county. Fourth, Mr. Speaker, sir, to ascertain the state of projects that pertain to agriculture, irrigation and cooperatives in Kisumu County in terms of their operational and technical capacity and functionality as had been envisaged during the launch and completion of the various agricultural, irrigation and cooperatives projects. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, I beseech that the county government of Kisumu be summoned to explain the way forward in addressing the plight of farmers in Kisumu County with a view to moving the modus operandi from agricultural donations and distribution of livestock, like dairy cows and goats, to farmers to concrete policy formulation and implementation aimed at addressing the perennial core challenges plaguing agriculture, irrigation, and cooperatives in Kisumu County. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, the governor should be summoned to state the measures being undertaken by the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development and the Ministry of Cooperatives and Micro and Macro Small Enterprises in expanding the rice irrigation schemes in Kisumu County to put more land under rice production, especially in the Kano Plains, and to improve the state of rice cooperatives in Kisumu County. I beg, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Sige. Senator Hamida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise, Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on austerity measures imposed by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, on developing countries, including Kenya. In the statement, the committee should, number one, state the reason the IMF imposed austerity measures on developing countries, including Kenya, while warning rich countries against austerity measures, explaining the safeguards put in place to ensure the measures do not escalate poverty levels in developing countries. Number two, explain the extent to which the austerity measures imposed by the IMF affect Kenya's capacity to borrow loans from global lenders, noting that the country is still reeling from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, which devastated the economy and increased the cost of living. Number three, give a breakdown of the proposed austerity measures to be applied and which will directly lead to fiscal budget, tightening and adjustment in government expenditure, citing the targeted sectors. Number four, clarify to the Senate whether the ministry has plans to ensure that the measures do not put vital public services at risk and exacerbate poverty and inequality. And the last, recommend that the IMF austerity program be tabled in the Senate and in each of the 47 county assemblies for scrutiny. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kathuri.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding the need for redesigning and the section of the road on the Nithi Bridge on the Meru-Nairobi Highway and the construction of a modern bridge. In the statement, the committee should, one, state the steps, if any, that the Ministry of Roads, Transport and Public Works has taken towards redesigning and realignment of the bridge and the approaching road sections to ensure safety of its users, considering that in the last 10 years, over 27 accidents have occurred, all on near the bridge, resulting in about 68 fatalities, 98 injuries, and 27 straight injuries. And number two, indicate, while providing timelines, what plans the ministry has for the construction of a modern bridge on the spot. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to make just 2 minutes comment on this statement. That this bridge is between Chuka town and the Meru town. And as you have heard, for the last 10 years, we have lost 68 people on this Kiram bridge. Mr. Speaker, the previous governments promised us hot air for the last 10 years that have been around as a registrator. We have really been petitioning the government to redesign this road and remove it from the curve, which is very dangerous, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, all those years, nothing has happened. And I hope this government now and His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, I remember during the campaigns, he actually gave a commitment that within the first year, you'll be able to ensure that his government starts the new bridge. And Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of trust in him and his government, and I'm hoping that this will be done. And my colleague on the Senator for the Rakanidi, because this bridge is in the Rakanidi, but we share the road, can attest that it is very, very dangerous. And the people of Meru and the Rakanidi will be very happy that this matter is now before the Senate. And I will work very closely with my friend, Senator Gataya Mofaya, to ensure that we put enough fire to the relevant ministry so that we get this road redesigned and we get a new bridge. I'm happy that the chair, Road and Transport, is in this house, Mr. Speaker, because I will ask him to take this matter with the seriousness it deserves and help our people so that we don't incur any losses through deaths, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Cheptumo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I arise to commend and to support the statement by the Deputy Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what is being raised by the member is a problem which is generally in our country. And I think it is important, Mr. Speaker, that the committee in charge of transport should even be able to go beyond what is being raised by the member. Mr. Speaker, we've lost a lot of lives, and there are specific hotspots, Mr. Speaker, in our roads. I'm sure every senator here today, if asked to mention, will mention 2 or 3 hotspots in their areas where people are actually losing their lives. And it is important for the ministry in charge, Mr. Speaker, to do this in every county. Mr. Speaker, in my own county, Baringo County, there is a notorious place where we've lost a lot of people. And when I was the member of Parliament Baringo North, we went with the then Director of Kera to be able to study. Mr. Speaker, I think it is important that this House should be able to pronounce itself that the ministry in charge should be able to go across the country and see these areas. Mr. Speaker, other areas where we have a problem are these rivers, where we've lost a lot of people when there is rains, floods, and so on. It is important, Mr. Speaker, that we rather prevent deaths of our people than witnessing it happening. So it is important that this is done. I want to urge my good friend, our chairman for transport, that your committee should go forth. In fact, when you will be inviting the Minister for Transport, who was actually a member of this House, I will also be present in that meeting so that I'm also able to articulate my issues for Baringo in addition to the one for our Deputy Speaker. I support, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mandago.
Mr. Speaker, I support the statement by the Senator for Meru on that bridge, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity myself to travel that route when I was a public servant, Mr. Speaker, and I realized that the accidents occurring in that bridge, Mr. Speaker, is not because the drivers are careless, Mr. Speaker, but it is attributed to the design of that road, Mr. Speaker. There is no way, Mr. Speaker, on a descending hill, you can have a Z kind of turn in a bridge, Mr. Speaker, and expect the drivers to be able to maneuver with that turn, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the redesign and construction of that bridge, Mr. Speaker, should be taken as a matter of emergency by the State Department of Roads, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is important to note that the lives that have been lost has resulted in families, others have been left probably orphans, children have been left without parents, are not able to continue with their education, and we cannot afford to continue losing lives, Mr. Speaker, if the matter has been raised for the last 10 years. I urge our chair for transport in this House, Mr. Speaker, to take that matter seriously, alongside other roads that have similar issues of design, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, other than taking immediate remedial measures of redesigning and constructing the bridge, Mr. Speaker, the responsible engineers who design those roads, Mr. Speaker, should also be taken into account, because in their professional ethics, Mr. Speaker, safety is paramount in design of our roads, and they therefore should take seriously the matters of design, so that we don't lose lives in our roads as a result of design errors, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Mundigi.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I arise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to check a statement from the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism regarding the high cess levied on transporters of Mogoka cargo from Bere in Embu County. In statement, the committee should, 1, state the measures the government has put in place, if any, to harmonize cess levies on Mogoka on transit to Mombasa and its affluents. 2, state the measures being put in place, if any, to strengthen exercise Mogoka cooperative societies with the aim of facilitating members to access loans that will enable them engage in activities to improve their business. And 3, table a progress report on those Kapingase and Kamomo dams that have been earmarked to supply water for Mogoka farming as well as other domestic use. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Faki.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, nimesikia Mheshimiwa Senator wa Embu akizungumzia masuala ya Mogoka. Mheshimiwa Speaker, swala hilo nafikiri kwa watu wa Mombasa ni swala ambalo limezua utata, kwa sababu ulaji wa Mogoka umeharibu nyumba nyingi sana. Umeharibu nyumba nyingi, na pia umeharibu vijana wengi ambao badala ya kufanya kazi, Mheshimiwa Speaker, wanarandaranda, wanawaacha bibi zao nyumbani.
What's your point of order, Senator Kadhuri?
Hakuna.
Naomba Bwana Spika, kwa heshima kuu, Seneta wa Mombasa anajua hii kilimo ndiyo imewezesha watu wake pale wafaulu, sababu hiyo pesa unasikia inadaiwa levies. Hiyo serikali ya Mombasa inachukua kiwango kingi sana, na nimfahamisha kwamba miraa siku hizi ni mmea kama kahawa, kama miwa, kama majani chai, kama korosho na kama mnazi. Kwa hivyo tafadhali usiharibu mmea ambao unatulea huko Meru, sababu miraa na Mogoka ni moja. Naomba tafadhali uchunga hiyo laini, sababu unapitia laini nyembamba sana.
What is your point of order? What is your point of order? I'm struggling to get your point of order. What is your point of order?
Actually, it was a point of information, Mr. Speaker, because I wanted to inform him that he is defaming a cash crop. That is actually a brand to many people in Meru and Embu counties. Actually, I'm a farm of Mogoka, 15 acres. I remember even you were discussing with you how I can give you 1 acre of my farm so that you can also benefit from this crop.
Senator Faki, kindly proceed.
Kwa Mheshimiwa Speaker, singependa kujulishwa chochote na Senator wa Meru, kwa sababu najua athari za miraa na athari za Mogoka, na vijana wengi hivi sasa wameweza kuathirika kwa mambo haya, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Kwa hivyo mbali na kwamba wanalia kwamba ushuru ama zile kodi zinazotozwa ni ziko juu, mimi ningependekeza ziongezwe ziongezwe maradufu ili mmea huu usiweze kufika Mombasa na usiweze kufika Pwani, ili vijana wetu waweze kuokoka. Mheshimiwa Spika, kila kijana ambaye anamaliza shule hivi sasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, anakimbia ataka kukaa kule Mogoka. Wengi hawataka kufanya kazi, Mheshimiwa Spika, wengi hawataki kuoa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo hawataki kuoa kwa sababu uwezo wao wa kushika nyumba, Mheshimiwa Spika, umeathirika na mmea huu. Hawawezi kushika nyumba sawa sawa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Hakuna na ziko na yako mambo
Senator Falakipia, what is your point of order? What is your point of order?
Bwana Spika, nimemsikiliza ndugu yangu Faki. Bwana Spika, hakuna kitu hata kilicho duniani ukizidisha kitakuwa na madhara yake. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri Senator Faki aweleze vijana kutoka Pwani. Hiyo mambo ya kusema ati wameshindwa kuweka nyumba, kushika nyumba, sidhani ni kwa sababu ya mmea ule, kwa sababu ukitembea sehemu nyingi, yule ni mtu yeye mwenyewe ameamua kutafuna.
I didn't give an opportunity to lecture us on Mogoka. What is your point of order?
Hoja yangu ya nidhamu, Bwana Spika, ni kusema hakuna kitu ambacho ukipitisha kile ambacho kimekubalika, hata chakula, hata maziwa ama chakula kingine chochote, kinaleta madhara yake. Kwa hivyo vile ambavyo ningependa kusema ni ya kwamba vijana wale wetu pale Pwani waambiwe ya kwamba ni vizuri mle mmea si mbaya, lakini wasipitishe kile ambacho kiwango kinachohitajika. Ni mmea mzuri na ni mmea ambao unaletea nchi yetu ya Kenya mapato mengi. Kwa hivyo
what is this that Senator Faki said that is out of order, that has prompted you to...
Anasema vijana wa Pwani wameshindwa kushika nyumba, na hiyo wanapaswa wajipange vizuri, ama tutumie vijana waweze kuwasaidia kushika nyumba.
Mheshimiwa Spika,
Senator Mazayo, what is your point of order?
Asante mstahiki Spika. Mstahiki Spika, Kiswahili ni lugha ambayo tunaelewa sote, lakini kusema kwamba vijana hawawezi kushika nyumba ni Kiswahili ambacho mimi mwenyewe pia kimenishinda kuelewa. Kwa hiyo sijui alikuwa anamaanisha nini. Manake ni Kiswahili, tutashika nyumba kwa hivi ama tutafanya namna gani? Kwa hiyo Bwana Spika afafanue vizuri ili tuweze kuelewa kushika nyumba anashika vipi. Wale vijana wa kutoka Pwani wote tunajua wanakula hiyo kitu pia. Kwa hiyo wanakula hiyo mguka ambao amesema yule ndugu yangu wa Embu. Lakini sasa mimi siwezi kuelewa na ningemuuliza pengine aweze kufafanua zaidi. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Faki, kindly make the House understand what you mean by vijana hawezi kushika nyumba.
Mheshimiwa Spika, kushika nyumba ni neno la kistaarabu linalomaanisha kwamba wameshindwa kustarehe na wake zao. Sasa ukiniambia kustarehe nini, ni bibi ama bwana kumuingilia bibi yake wa halali ama yule kimada ambaye yuko naye. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, hili swala la Mira na Mogoka ni swala ambalo ni nyeti katika eneo la Mombasa na tumelizungumzia, na tuna utafiti ambao umefanyika ambao waonesha athari hizi za mimea hii miwili. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kama bangi. Bangi ilipigwa marufuku kwa sababu ukivuta bangi inafanya kichwa chako kuruka. Kwa hivyo Mogoka na Mira, Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiila kwa siku mbili mfululizo.
Senator Sifuna, what is your point?
Anafuta bangi huyo.
Mstahiki Spika, naamini kwamba seneta anaposimama kuzungumza hapa lazima awe anaweza kuzungumza masuala ambayo anaweza kuyadhibitisha. Sidhani kwamba seneta wa Mombasa ambaye namheshimu sana akiwa ndugu yangu anaweza toa idhibati yoyote kuonyesha kwamba uvutaji wa bangi unapelekea watu kuruka vichwa. Hiyo ndio hoja yangu ya nidhamu.
Senator Faki, just proceed and conclude your contribution.
Speaker, unilinde kwa sababu maana mambo ninayozungumzia hapa ni mambo ambayo ni nyeti, yanaathiri sana watu wa Mombasa. Mheshimiwa Speaker, ni wazi kwamba tuna utafiti ambao umefanyika, na hata ikitakana mimi naweza kuwasilisha stakabadhi hapa Jumanne ya kuonesha athari za mimea miraa na Mogoka. Na tuseme kwamba ni biashara, kwa hivyo watu wafanye. Kama ni biashara, anzeni kununua nyinyi wenyewe kwanza Meru, anzeni kununua wenyewe Embu, anzeni kwa Tharaka Nithi, uzianeni kwanza kule mpaka iwaenee ndio mtuletee sisi Mombasa. Unasikia? Lakini haiwezekani Mheshimiwa Speaker kwamba mmea kama huu ambao unaathiri vijana wetu, unaathiri wasichana wetu, Mheshimiwa Speaker, uruhusiwe kuuzwa kiholela kama unavyouzwa sasa. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Speaker, mimi naunga mkono kaunti yetu ya Mombasa iongeze kodi ya mimea hii miwili ili tuweze kulinda vizazi vijavyo vya watu wa Mombasa na kaunti zingine jirani kama vile Lamu. Hata Lamu, Mheshimiwa Speaker, hii mimea hii miwili imeathiri sana jamii, na hatuwezi kunyamaza hapa tukasema kwamba kwa kuwa watu wapata chakula, watu wanalipa school fees, kwetu sisi ni kama biashara ya haramu. Kwa hivyo tungependa masuala hii yazungumziwe kisasa. Sisi lawama kwamba ati twalipisha kodi nyingi kwa tunataka iongezwe ile kodi ili mimea hii isiweze kufika Mombasa na kuathiri vijana wetu, kuathiri dada zetu na watoto wetu. Mheshimiwa Speaker, asante kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity, and I would like to contribute on this issue of Mogoka, Mira. And I want to highly dispute what Senator Faki has stated, that Mogoka is a product that is spoiling the youth in Mombasa. As a leader, Mr. Speaker, it is their responsibility to ensure that their youths in Mombasa and other areas are able to use the product Mogoka to the levels that are needed. You do not bring blame games because you do not know how to use products. And to ask, Mr. Speaker, surely between Mogoka and madawa and drugs, which one actually, you know, as leaders is on extreme levels? So the Mogoka product, it's a cash crop in this country, and it coming from my region, Meru, for that matter, is a product that we highly, you know, respect, because it is improving the livelihoods of our people in Meru, in Tharaka Nithi, Embu. So the senator should not mislead this house and his youth in the coastal region by stating that it should be put aside, it should not be a market product in Mombasa. It is a product like any other product in this country. It is your choice to decide either to use it or not. There is nowhere that it is stated, even items like cigarettes, items like alcohol, it is it's your personal choice. So at the end of the day, this is, as Kenyans, this is our economic product. And we should actually be looking on how to add value into this Mogoka product. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Gataya Mofaya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to support the statement by Senator Mudigi from Embu County, who has brought a very pertinent issue on Mogoka. Mogoka, Honorable Speaker, is a crop just like any other, just like coffee, just like tea, just like mnazi, and it should be accorded the very respect that we accord other crops. We have thousands of people in Tharaka-Nithi, in Embu, in Meru, whose livelihood depends on Mogoka and Mira, and I want to dispute the allegations by Mombasa Senator that Mogoka is on track. I would advise Mheshimiwa Faki to bring a registration through my committee, because I'm the chair delegated, maybe to outlaw, and I'm sure it is not going to see the light of the day. So I think Mogoka and Mira should be accorded the right attention, and those that are eating Mira in Mombasa or any other part of this country should be given freedom to do so freely without any intimidation. So in a rejoinder, Honorable Speaker, there was a statement that was raised by my senior, my brother, Senator from Meru County, Senator Kadhuri Muronge, on the Nithi Bridge. I want to confirm, Honorable Speaker, that the Nithi Bridge is in my county, and this bridge is a national disaster. It's a monster. Nithi Bridge has claimed very many lives, and it's high time that the government should act upon this bridge to save lives, because this bridge, Honorable Speaker, serves quite a number of counties all the way from northeastern, Marsabit, Isiolo, Meru, Embu, Tharaka-Nithi. It's a national disaster, Honorable Speaker. So I think I'm happy that the member for Meru brought this issue, and we urge the Committee on Transport to move with a lot of speed and make sure that we have put in mechanisms through which we can redesign this bridge, maybe to save more lives. I remember His Excellency the President in his campaign trail promised that in his very first 100 days, we are going to have the Nithi Bridge redesigned, and I trust his word. I'm very sure once we settle as a government, this will be the first priority, but they should get a report from the chair, Transport through his committee, to make sure that we have a bridge which does not kill people. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Shakila.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kunipatia hii fursa. Mheshimiwa, nafikiri bridge inaweza kuchangia kiasi fulani, lakini utakuta madereva wa miraa wanapeleka magari vibaya sana Mheshimiwa. Na wanayapeleka magari over ndege. Utakuta magari ya miraa ukikutana nayo barabarani, wewe usipochunga wanapita na wewe.
Honorable Senator, just confine yourself to the statement by Honorable the Senator for Embu on the issue of Mogoka.
Sawa Mheshimiwa, ninakuja huko. Kitu kingine Mheshimiwa, ningependa pia kuongezea ni kwamba unakuta wale walaji Mogoka, hususan vijana wadogo, utapata mtoto amepewa pesa ya pocket money ya shule. Badala ya ile pesa kuitumia kwa shule, anaiweka, anaenda kununua Mogoka ambayo unaweza kuipata kwa pakiti hata kwa shilingi 50. Mheshimiwa Spika, na unapata mtoto amekula Mogoka, jicho limetoka kama la ng'ombe. Unashindwa huyu mtoto amefanya nini, amekula nini? Na ni sababu ya hiyo Mogoka. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukweli ni kwamba Mogoka unaathiri vijana, Mogoka ni ulevi na unafaa ukontroliwe. Kwa sababu bila hiyo tutaendelea kukosa vijana wetu kwa Mogoka na kwa miraa. Afadhali hata miraa mimi naweza sema, lakini Mogoka ni kama ni kitu inawekwa kemikali ndani yake, saa ile inakuzwa, na ndio sababu unakuta vijana wakitumia kidogo tu wanachange akili zao na wanabadilika, macho inatoka nje, unakuta mtoto hawezi hata kula chakula. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hivyo Mogoka ina athari fulani bila shaka, na ningependa sana Mheshimiwa Faki ikiwa ataweza kuleta hiyo ripoti kuthibitisha kwamba Mogoka ni ulevi, ndio tuweze kuweka kwenye kategori ya ulevi isiwe inatumika kama crop. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
The senator has already yielded to her seat. Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, as much as we appreciate that Mira is actually a cash crop for our brothers in Meru and Embu, but the fact remains Mira is actually a social problem within the consuming communities like the coast, my place in Wajir, northern Kenya, that most of the students have dropped out of school by consuming mogoka. Actually, it has been proven that mogoka is actually a drug. It is a drug, and we can still prove beyond doubt that it has really destroyed, Mira has destroyed the social fabrics.
What's your point of order, Senator Kathuri?
Honorable Speaker, you know this is a house of record and honor. And members in this house should really speak to the facts. And I'm standing on 105. Responsibility for statement of fact. And Mr. Speaker, if we spend the afternoon criminalizing crops which are livelihoods to many Kenyans, and we have no facts, I wish either Honorable Senator Faki, Senator Shakira, and now Senator Abbas cannot go away with it. So I want, Mr. Speaker, Senator Abbas, the honorable member, Senator for Wajir, to bring a fact and document research showing that either Mira, Mogoka is on drug. Because we have so many research has been done in this country, including the UK, before Mira was banned in the UK. So I want Senator Abbas to bring to this house is research, a paper showing that Mira is on drug, so that we can really confine ourselves to what we speak, and we own what we speak in this house, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, if we continue just speaking for the sake of the gallery, then, Mr. Speaker, we are doing the wrong thing. So I really indulge you to use standing under 105 so that the honorable member can furnish this house and the community. And Mr. Speaker, because I can see members are digressing from the statement sought by Honorable Mudigi, I seek indulgence that you stop that debate on your, you standing on number one. That is why I'm indulging the Speaker. I've not told him, I'm not commanding the Speaker, I'm indulging him to really protect this crop, Mr. Speaker, because senators here are digressing. If you have a social problem with that crop, you can even take coffee and then you get drug. There is a time I took three fruits of munazi when I was in Mombasa, and I got a bad stomach problem because I overindulged in munazi. So, Mr. Speaker, if you use even food, if you eat a lot of ugali, honorable member, still you get bloated stomach. So, Mr. Speaker, I want you really to protect the community where we grow this crop, Meru, Tarakanidi, Embu, so that Kenyans out there do not have problems. Like now, we have talked to the government so that we can expand our market in Somalia, in DRC, in Eritrea, and other countries. But if these countries, they will see this debate today, then I'm telling you, Mr. Speaker, we are going to get a lot of problems in our region because we are trying to see how we can improve revenue of our people. So, Mr. Speaker, with a lot of indulgence, at least for the purpose of record, let Honorable Abbas bring his research and table to this House that Mira, Mogoka is on drug. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Senators, indeed, under Standing Order 105, Senator Abbas, kindly take a seat. I'll give you an opportunity after I've ruled. Take your seat, Senator Abbas, please. Take your seat. Yeah. Indeed, it's true that under Standing Order 105, a responsibility is attached to the senator making a statement of fact to be able to substantiate that fact. And in the absence of that substantiation, then you cannot proceed to make that statement of fact. However, if you're convinced that you can substantiate that fact, though not instantly, then I can give you up to a certain time to be able to substantiate that. So, honorable senators, as you contribute to the request of statement that has been done, bear in mind that whatever you say, if it's a statement of fact, I shall demand that you substantiate that fact. If indeed, for example, we've called Mogoka all manner of names, I want to believe that as you do that, you'll be able to table a document indeed to substantiate that whatever statement of fact you've made can be proved through that documentation. So as you make your contribution, bear that in mind. Proceed, Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A lot of research has already been done on Mira, and the facts that Mira is actually a stimulant that affects the people that consume. And as a result of that, I will ask for time to bring the paper of research, Mr. Speaker, sir. I know Mira has destroyed my society, actually. And actually, I'm a living testimony. I can attest personally that one time I consumed Mira and the impact it had on me. As much as I appreciate, and I know it's actually one of the cash crop that gets a lot of money from outside, it is destroying the society, especially the consumers. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will ask for time to produce some documents. Thank you.
Honorable Senators, I can still see a number of you eager to contribute to the request. However, looking at the way the debate is moving, I think we are better off engaging when the report is made by the committee, so that for those who want to defend or oppose can be able to come to the floor of this House armed with documents to prove the statement of facts that they're making. As it is this afternoon, I have had a lot of general statement of facts. Now that we're going to have another opportunity to debate the report that will be brought by the relevant committee, honorable senators, let us wait for that opportunity. And as we wait for that opportunity, kindly, the senator from Mombasa, prepare your documents accordingly. The senator for Wajir, prepare your documents accordingly, so that at that particular juncture, we won't have to have the kind of interruptions, because some are seeking to have you to substantiate your statement of facts. So, your point of order is on who? So let me finalize, Senator Faki. This matter is very grave. That is the reason I gave latitude for quite a number of you to ventilate your thoughts before the House. However, we cannot casually trade statements on this matter without cogent evidence to prove what we are saying. And therefore, even the members who have expressed the need to continue contributing, I'm afraid that again we will slip back to the general statements. And that's why I've ruled that since this matter is going before the committee is going to table a report on this particular matter. When that report is tabled, and indeed, if you need to input on that report, there is nothing preventing any senator here from going before that committee to make your case before that committee. If you don't present yourself before that committee, you still have an opportunity when that report is tabled before the House. As long as when you're making your contributions, please make sure you have your documents that will enable you to substantiate all that you've said. It is so ruled. Yes, Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are properly guided. On that, Mr. Speaker, I want to really plead with you, especially on the application of Standing Order number 105, that if, for instance, Senator Faki rises and says, if you take alcohol, you will get drunk and you'll be unstable. The Speaker, yes, he is responsible for the facts of his statement, but I think we will be stifling debate in this House by asking him to go and bring a report that that confirms his utterances. Mr. Speaker, on this matter of, and I say we are guided, on this matter of Mogoka or Mira, sensitive as it is, what has been said on this floor are facts. It is a fact that Mogoka at the source is a source of income. That's a fact.
Honorable Senator Wambua, kindly take your seat. Kindly. Honorable Senator Wambua, Honorable Faki, during his contribution, said he's willing to table findings on what he was alleging. Honorable Abbas likewise said he is willing to table documents to buttress his arguments. Why should we then curtail them? And therefore, Senator Wambua, I've made a ruling, and I have made a ruling on this matter, Senator Wambua. I have made a ruling on this matter, Senator Wambua. You need not conclude because you are reopening a debate. So we rest that matter there. Honorable Senators, in the public gallery, we have students from Alliance High School, a school I went, accompanied by the teachers who are in the Senate on an education tour. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I thank you. Again, Honorable Senators, in the public gallery, we have 40 pupils from Riverbank PEFA South B Academy, accompanied by 3 teachers who are in the Senate on an education tour. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I thank you. I will allow one senator to welcome the guests. Honorable Methu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I am sure the Deputy Speaker is now comfortable that I am speaking next to him. I rise to welcome, just as you have, on behalf of my colleagues, the senators who are here, the pupils from Riverbank Academy who are here, and the students from Alliance High School, where you, the Honorable Speaker, attended. And as I welcome them, I would wish, especially for the Alliance students who are in the public gallery, to ask them and to remind them that all of us, including my own self, we were working very hard as primary school pupils to go to Alliance High School. Now that they have an opportunity to be in Alliance, They should make the institution proud, just as you have yourself, Honorable Speaker, that you've risen the ranks and have made the school proud. So I welcome them and I wish them well, especially those who are, I'm told they are candidates in the public gallery. Those who are taking the national exams, I wish them the best of luck. And those who are getting ready, please get ready. We need brilliant and we need you in the future. You are the future of the country. You are the future of the generations. So welcome and thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on the rising cases of insecurity in Vihiga County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, explain the reasons for the recent rise in cases of insecurity and a wave of violent attacks on business people and other residents in parts of Vihiga County, particularly Cheptulu Market, where a businessman was recently shot dead by a heavily armed gang, as well as the surrounding areas of Kaimosi, Shaviringa, and Makuchi. 2, state the measures being taken by both levels of government to assure residents of Vihiga County of their safety and outline actions taken by the Ministry of Interior and the National Administration to equip police officers with the necessary resources to undertake their work. 3, update the Senate on the actions taken by the police in investigating and apprehending the perpetrators of the past crimes reported in the area, and specifically cases of rape of students, especially of Kaimosi University, murder, theft, and the recent break-in at Magnum Hotel in Vihiga County. 4, outline the disciplinary action taken against specific police officers who have been identified for inordinate delay in responding to public outcry over insecurity in the county. Senator Godfrey Osotsi, Vihiga County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Roba. This is a statement that any member of SPC can actually deliver. So, Senator Stewart Mazayo, you can read the statement. It's just a statement. As a member of SBC, you can comfortably go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a statement by the Senate Majority Leader. I don't think I need to go that direction, but I will start. Mr. Speaker, pursuant, Madam Speaker, I'm so sorry. I apologize, profusely apologize for that.
Proceed.
Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 53-1, I hereby present the business of the Senate for the week commencing Tuesday, 15th November 2022. Before I proceed with the statement, allow me to take this opportunity to welcome honorable senators back from the short recess. I trust that you benefited from the induction program that were held during the recess period for the Senate Business Committee and for all senators on processing of legislature business. Madam Speaker, on Tuesday the 15th of November 2022, the Senate Business Committee will consider and approve the business of the day, which is projected to contain business that will not be concluded from today's order paper and any other business scheduled by the Senate Business Committee. The order paper for Wednesday, the 16th of November 2022, and for Thursday, 17th of November 2022, will contain business that will not be concluded on Tuesday, the 15th of November 2022, and on Wednesday, the 16th of November 2022, respectively, as well as petitions and statements and any other business scheduled by the Senate Business Committee. Madam Speaker, the two bills have already been read a first time. The Vocational and Training Bill, Senate Bill number 3 of 2022, and the County Government's Additional Allocation number 2 Bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2022. The bills were committed to the Standing Committee on Education and the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget, respectively. Madam Speaker, much concern has been expressed on the floor of this House on processing of bills by Standing Committee. Further concerns have been expressed on the need to expeditiously consider and conclude on the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill. I therefore urge all standing committees to observe the requirements of Standing Order 148 and to table reports within the set timelines. More specifically, I urge Standing Committee on Finance and Budget to consider the County Government's Additional Allocation number 2 Bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2022, as a matter of urgency, and to table a report on the bill at the earliest opportunity. Madam Speaker, concerning the other business of the House, there have been numerous statements sought from the Standing Committee pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 and other referred to Standing Committee pursuant to Standing Order 52-3. I take this opportunity to urge respective standing committees to expeditiously consider these statements and to table reports as necessary. Committee chairpersons may also use the mechanism available under Standing Order 56-1 to appraise the House on matters for which respective committees are responsible. Madam Speaker, I thank you and I hereby lay the statement on the table of the House.
Next order.
Order number 9, motion, promotion of mental health facilities for mothers.
Honorable Senators, we now resume debate on this motion, which was interrupted on Tuesday, 8th November 2022, as at the rise of the House, Senator Raphael Chimera, was contributing to the debate and has a balance of 14 minutes. Do we have Senator Chimera here? I welcome contributions by other members. Senator Okanyuri, Esther.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First, I would love to congratulate the mover of this motion for a well thought out motion, and the matter I hold very dear to my heart, that sexual reproductive health and rights. Madam Speaker, as we all know, access to this right was adopted in Cairo in 1994 under the MDG 5 on maternal health care. Madam Speaker, 28 years down the line, we are still battling with issues of insufficient facilities, lack of sufficient resources, lack of properly trained medical staff, including psychosocial support to the women who deliver children, and those children are potential voters of the honorable members in this House. I want to emphasize women delivering in comfort because there is pleasure in celebrating women who are giving birth to life. Madam Speaker, in that yet an-established environment you can imagine, we have women who are giving birth and celebrating, and the same environment we have women who are experiencing miscarriages, so they go home sad because they have nothing to go home with. It's very ironical. It's like a case of having a wedding in the same compound, having a funeral. Madam Speaker, are we celebrating or are we mourning? Can you imagine the trauma that these women have to go through sharing the same facility with women who are celebrating their bundles of joy, while we have women who are mourning after suffering miscarriages? So, Madam Speaker, there is need, therefore, to isolate this kind of mothers and also offer support, especially to the mothers who have suffered the losses, so that we are able to rehabilitate them back to society in that they can restart parenting. And for the mothers who are celebrating joy, also be put separately. And for this reason, I would love to urge the honorable members in this House to support this motion, because sexual reproductive health and rights of women are very important, and they solely lie at the floor of this House. And if I quote, as stated by the UNFPA director, that's Thoraya obeyed in 2014, that's 10 years down the line after the Cairo conference. Honorable members, you have the key and life. Honorable members, you have the key and life. Whatever decisions we make here are key, and whatever decisions we make here are the key to life and death of our voters. That's how serious this matter is. So I would love to support this motion and urge members of goodwill to support implementation of the suggestions we are having here. And this means funding. Once we are talking about establishing of these facilities in the different counties, this means we have to dig deep into our pockets so that we enable the different county governments support establishment of these facilities. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Senator Sige.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the motion by the Honorable Senator Kibwana on this very, very important issue. Statistics, Madam Speaker, has given us a very huge gap in maternal health care in Kenya. This, Madam Speaker, is in the finding of the 2019 UN Task Force. It returned a finding that in Kenya, we have got a very, very huge gap in terms of the maternal health care, and it is timely that such a motion is placed before the House. As I support this motion, I wish to encourage the members that in as much as we are going through challenges in our health sector, it is one of the priority items that we must look into and push where we can our government, both at the national and the county level, to ensure that finance, attention, and priority is placed on this very important aspect of our healthcare. Statistics, Madam Speaker, gives us that 1 out of 10 people suffer from mental health care or mental disorder for that matter. This is not only as regards to the specific issue about the maternal health care. It goes beyond that, because when you look at that particular statistic, Kenya is ranked the 5th in Africa with that particular disorder based on the latest statistics of 2019. Madam Speaker, when we ask of the statement or the motion to be pushed beyond just discussion and ask the Honorable Kibwana to expand so that instead of just dealing with the very specific issue of maternal health care, it is because of the health status of this particular issue, both in our own counties and beyond. In terms of the required or the requisite support that, Madam Speaker, we are asking, it is beyond the financial support, because when you look at the challenges that these mothers go through, particularly, for instance, where I come from in Bomet County, if you were to go to the Longisa Hospital, where you witness a mother celebrating a newborn child and another mother seated or sleeping next to her, mourning the loss of a newborn, it is not an easy experience. It is not something that you would wish to have an extended experience in it, such that whenever we talk about asking our county governments to ensure that we have separate wings or separate beds where you are able to manage the victims of such situations, it is extremely, extremely important. The investment in the sector cannot be gainstated, because you cannot compare the future of a nation, because when we look at the mortality rate and the consequences of this disorder, it is affecting our future, it is affecting the future generation, and Madam Speaker, it can only be better if and when we push to have such a motion be prioritized, and the recommendations that the Honorable Senator Kibwana is seeking is going to help not only the mothers or parents who have gone through this, but also their partners. Madam Speaker, I also beseech that besides the investment in the victims, we also have partners beyond the mother. We have partners beyond the young child or the mother who has lost a young child, who is a father who is in most cases also highly affected by the challenges that the mother goes through. In terms of asking for investments, we should also look at how do we deal with these partners so that we manage the victim as well as the victim by extension of the situation. Madam Speaker, I support this motion, and I congratulate the Honorable Senator Kibwana for this timely motion to the House. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Shakila.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this very important motion brought by Senator Hamida. I really congratulate you, Madam Hamida, for this motion. It's a really timely motion, Madam Speaker. Actually, Kenya is suffering because Kenyans are going through a lot, and this is really affecting the mental status of many of the Kenyans, who actually, most of them are quiet and suffering in silence. Madam Speaker, talking of this mental issue, it is a very important issue which needs to be looked into, because the facilities, the existing facilities in this country, they are wanting. There's a big shortage of these facilities. If you go to Mathare or Portrees, you see the status of those facilities, you'll be sorry. I personally have a sick family member who we have been taking to Mathare and Portrees, and he got out being worse than we took him in there because of the status of those facilities. Madam Speaker, it is high time that all the counties, they should make sure that they have doctors who are psychiatrists and the wards to be able to cater for the patients, because this is a disease and it is a growing disease in the country. And we really need to have specialists who can take care of this disease countrywide. And the counties should make a point to ensure that they cater for these diseases in their counties, to ensure that we are here to serve all the sick people equally. Madam Speaker, the psychiatrists are very expensive. Sometimes you are forced to take your patient to a private doctor who charges almost 10,000 for consultation only before you even buy the medication. So if our counties and our hospitals can be improved of these facilities, it will serve a good deal to our sick people who are suffering mentally. And I think it's high time as a country we need to accept that mental disease is with us, and we need to face it and deal with it accordingly. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mutinda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the motion, promotion of mental health facilities for mothers by Senator Amida, and I'm really proud of her bringing this motion on table at this particular time, where the issue of mothers is a very important issue, and health issues are also very quite sensitive, fundamental in this, and every Kenyan needs good medical and health services. As a mother, motherhood is godly. It's a blessing. It's natural, and every woman looks forward to earning this title of being a mother. It's a process in such a way that as a mother, when you lose your kid, it's very, very devastating. And I support, Madam Speaker, this motion that health being a devolved function, our counties should ensure that they set aside facilities that are going to assist our mothers who've undergone this tragic moment of losing a baby. It's a moment that cannot be, replaced. It's a moment that is so sad that the best thing is to ensure that as a country we offer basic facilities of qualified psychiatric professionals and spaces that are specifically for the mothers who've lost their kids. It's so sad that this has not been put in place. As a mother undergoing such a loss and being in the same space with one that is celebrating, what do we expect? Total sadness. I urge that through the Ministry of Health, in conjunction with the Council of Governors, to urgently look at facilitating these services currently, because this is an ongoing issue that is still happening, and it can still be addressed very fast by setting aside those particular rooms and the hospitals facilitating the qualified personnel, so that as much as that loss has occurred, we also don't go to the extent of losing that mother through mental issues. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Elder Methu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As I rise to support the very good motion that is before this House, and as I support this motion, because I've not had an opportunity of getting an opportunity to speak or to contribute when you have been Speaker, take this first instance to congratulate you. You've been doing very well. Thank you. As I support this motion, first and foremost, I would wish to say and state this is a very well thought out motion, and I congratulate Senator Kibwana. Mothers are beautiful people. They are people who give life, and it breaks our hearts that the people who give life are not celebrated enough. I have been looking at the statistics, and somebody has spoken at, about statistics, and including mothers who require mental health and mental support after losing, getting stillbirth, after losing a baby. In the whole of the Republic, we have just about less than 500 accredited mental health workers. Just 500 across the whole Republic. 500 that are supposed to take care of the 50 million population of the whole Republic. 500 that are supposed to take care of babies, young people, the old, women, men, everybody. Just 500. And even as I look at the far-reaching recommendations of the motion, I also would encourage that we even expound it to touch on not limited to just mothers, but the different groups. As I sympathize with the mothers, I have personally had that very sad and unfortunate experience, because my own sister underwent this kind of, that is why I stayed along this evening, because I wanted to come and support this motion. And it was very difficult for us to even get her, even a private specialist to help her. Because when you have carried a baby for 9 months and you're going home without a baby, I think that is the height of pain. That is I was trying to console her, and it was so difficult. I know how difficult it is. So as we propose about having special wards for mothers who have undergone this kind of unfortunate incidences, the proposal that is in the motion, which I am supporting and I'm agreeing to, that is proposal number 1, ensure that all county health facilities with maternity wings allocate separate wards for recovery for the mothers who have gone through stillbirth, or those that have lost their babies during delivery. And as we propose that we get separate wards, which I really support, I also would wish to say that the wards should be accompanied by specialists, so that we do not cure one problem and create another, so that we do not separate them from the others, and then they are, they go to a certain corner, and you know how it has happened. I have been, I looked at how, especially the county of Nyandarua, where I come from, they were dealing with the COVID menace. they are getting a new ward, they will push people to a certain corner, then they will say this is the isolation ward, then they will push another, even at some point. So, as we speak about getting a separate ward for our mothers, it should be accompanied by wards and specialists who will be working in those wards, so that they do not feel like we have rejected them and we have placed them at a place that, it's like we are not sympathizing with them enough. As we get the separate wards, it should be accompanied by specialists who will be taking care of them, and this will include and not limited to counseling support. Madam Speaker, in terms of training, there is a research that was done by the International Journal on Mental Systems. And in terms of capacity and training on the current 500 service providers for mental health, unfortunately, most of them are not, they are not literate enough in terms of the job description and the scope of service on what they are supposed to deliver. That you are a health worker or you are a mental health worker, but you're not doing or offering sufficient services that commensurate the problem that you are supposed to cure. So in that case, I would also encourage that we do serious training to our mental health workers, so that they have enough capacity to deal with the menace, and even train more, because right now private practitioners are expensive, extremely expensive. As Senator mentioned that they're expensive, and they are actually even rare. You not even get them. So, Madam Speaker, I support the motion, and I wish that the committee or our own mechanisms as Parliament, they ensure that this one is implemented immediately. This is not something that you can wait. This is not something that, and because health is devolved, this is a matter that should be taken up immediately. We pass this motion. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I have a message to the Senate. Approval of a member of Parliament for appointment to the Parliamentary Service Commission. Pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 41(1) of the National Assembly Standing Orders, I hereby, this is a message from the Speaker of the National Assembly. Pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 41(1) of the National Assembly Standing Orders, I hereby convey the following message from the National Assembly. Whereas the National Assembly, by a resolution passed on Tuesday, 8th November 2022, approved a motion on the appointment of 7 members to the Parliamentary Service Commission, and further, whereas the Senate on Wednesday, 9th November 2022, considered and approved the motion with amendment by deleting the name of the Honorable Senator Fatuma Adan-Dulo, CBS MP, and substituting therefore the name of the Honorable Senator Eric Okongo Omogeni, SC MP, and requested the National Assembly to consider the appointment. In accordance with the provisions of Article 127(2) of the Constitution, by a resolution passed on Thursday, 10th November 2022, the National Assembly approved the appointment of the Honorable Senator Eric Okongo Omogeni, SC MP, to the Parliamentary Service Commission under subsection C(2) of the said article. Now, therefore, in accordance with the said provisions of the standing orders, I hereby convey the aforementioned resolution of the National Assembly. This, therefore, concludes the bicameral approval of the appointment process and paves way for the swearing in of the 7 members of Parliament to the Parliamentary Service Commission. Members, we now continue with the debate. Next is Senator Mariam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance. I thank also Senator Hamida for bringing this statement on the floor. This postpartum depression is a mood disorder affecting women postpartum. PPD in Africa estimation is 10% to 28%, while in local Kenya is 10.6% to 13.5%. The feeling of this depression is more tense and lasts longer than those of baby blues. The time of the youth is described by worry and sadness and tiredness. Many women experienced after having babies. The symptom resolve it is on within a few minutes, a few days. Madam Speaker, globally, PPD is estimated between 10 to 20%. However, comparing to developed countries, the higher the rate is reported in developed countries. This altitude to a little this attributes to a little emphasis placed on postnatal care and mental health care issues. Women who suffer from this depression, PPD, are often diagnosed with intensive depressions, and accompanying symptoms may include feeling of anger, crying more than usual, withdrawal from their family, distress, and detached from their babies. Worry that they will even injure their babies, and the feeling of guilty about not being good mothers. Madam Speaker, women in Mandera can expect more kids in their lifetimes, which is also referred to fertility rate. It refers to fertility rate. Mandera County's total fertility rate is higher than national rates, which is 3.9%. And also, Mandera County has higher birth rate compared to national rate. Madam Speaker, Mandera County is one of the 15 counties that count for 60% of maternal death in Kenya. The latest estimate of the county's maternal toll rate is 3,795 deaths per 100,000 living babies, the highest in the county. Child death rate in Mandera mirror the national trend, although Neonatal death rate is slightly higher, and infant under 5 death rate is slightly lower. Madam Speaker, in the solution of this DDP depression, postnatal depression screening tools must be involved. The county should be also introduced during perinatal period to screen mothers during clinic visit. Further research should also be done on early detection of PPD, especially in ASAL area where access to basic health care service is challenged. Finally, all counties must also build a separate ward and provide counseling services for these women. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I now call upon the mover to reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to reply. Madam Speaker, I have taken note of all the contributions from my honorable senators, and hoping and promising to walk the talk and clearing the path or the road for implementation. Madam Speaker, it is worth to note that perinatal depression with other mental illness is treatable, and there are effective interventions that can be delivered. Madam Speaker, I have also taken note that what is required also is a well-trained caregivers or counselors, professional, to assist. However, well-trained, actually non-specialist health providers can also do the work. Madam Speaker, I have also taken note that the task force on mental health reported that 75% of Kenyans are unable to access the service. There is dire need of adequate resourcing of health facilities to introduce and where available to improve the quality of mental health care service to pregnant women and those that have just delivered, and all the mental cases to be attended to. Madam Speaker, Senator Sige also contributed on the VIPs, people living with disability, that they should be considered also. And also, what touched me most, Madam Speaker, was a mother who was given birth to a mental ill child. Where does she go? How does she get assisted? Just to, for her to cope up with the situation, they may also require some counseling, some support, so that they don't suffer depression. And so that it's not also, they should not hide the fact that they have, the mental ill, not just mental, but then any child with disability, sorry. So just to take through the mother, that we should not be ashamed of what we have delivered, and we should not get ashamed with our children, and we should be out, speaking to all the mothers that this is God-given and we should cope with what we have. Madam Speaker, with that, I really appreciate all my colleagues, all my fellow senators, honorable senators for their contribution. And I'm hoping that there will be, all the counties will implement what has been contributed in terms of having separate facilities for having mental health facilities in different counties. With that, Madam Speaker, I thank you and I appreciate my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Pursuant to Standing Order 84.2, the Speaker is to make a determination that the matter does not affect counties. The Speaker makes the determination that the matter does not affect counties. And I will therefore put the question that aware that according to the World Health that according to the World Health Organization, globally, 10% of pregnant women and 13% of women who have just given birth experience a mental condition referred to as perinatal depression, which is higher in developing countries, with 15.6% during pregnancy and 19.8% after childbirth. Further aware that women who go through stillbirth and those that lose their children during delivery are taken to general maternity ward where other mothers with healthy babies are recovering, causing them mental anguish and adversely impacting their mental health. Noting that integrating mental health care into primary health care settings requires training in psychiatric care and providing consulting support to primary care providers, considering that there are not enough mental health care providers to meet the current and growing need for mental health services. Appreciating that the Health Act under Section 6(1)(b) provides that every person has a right to reproductive health care, which includes the right to access to appropriate health care services that will enable mothers to go safely through pregnancy, childbirth, and the postpartum period, which should include the integration of mental health in perinatal care as recommended by the National Mental Health Task Force in Mental Health and Well-Being Towards Happiness and National Prosperity report. Now, therefore, the Senate urges the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the Council of Governors, to 1, ensure that all county health facilities with maternity wings allocate a separate ward for recovery for the mothers who have gone through stillbirth and those that have lost their babies during delivery. 2, facilitate continuous mental health training and the provision of counseling support in the perinatal wards for all primary care providers in all counties. 3, establish counseling facilities at all county health facilities with maternity wings to provide counseling therapy to mothers who lose their children through a miscarriage during delivery or through stillbirth. And 4, establish counseling facilities at all county health facilities with maternity wings to provide counseling therapy to mothers who are suffering from perinatal and postpartum depression. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable Senators, there's no other business on the order paper. The Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, 15th November 2022 at 2:30 p.m.
And also makes it possible for road contractors to replace any tree harvested during road construction upon completion of the project.